All right, let's talk about AI governance. It's basically the rule book for artificial intelligence. The thing that decides whether the AI we're building is actually going to help us or, create a bunch of problems. So let's dive in.
I mean, think about it. AI can do some incredible stuff. It's writing code, making amazing art, even diagnosing diseases. But what's stopping it from going completely off the rails? Who's in charge here? That's really the big question. And that's exactly what AI governance is all about.
Okay, so let's get right to it. What even is AI governance?
Okay, take a look at this. This mind map here, this is basically our guide for today. It's the whole plan, the playbook really, for using AI the right way, safely and, effectively. We're going to walk through this piece by piece. So to put it simply, AI governance is kind of like the operating system for a company's AI. It's not just a dusty rule book sitting on a shelf. Nope, it's the whole shebang. The people, the daily practices, all the processes, everything that makes sure the AI is actually doing what it's supposed to responsibly.
So, where do you even start building something like this?
Well, like any good structure, you got to start with the foundation. And for AI, that means people and principles. Let's go back to our map for a second. See this? The first two big areas we're looking at have nothing to do with code. It's all about the big ideas, the concepts, and the people, the roles and responsibilities. And that right there tells you the most important thing. This whole thing starts with humans, not with the machines. Okay, so what are these big principles? Well, think of them as the North Star for any AI project. First up, you need senior leadership keeping an eye on things. You need real ethical safeguards, a deep respect for human rights, and you've got to be actively trying to reduce bias. And this last one is huge. Explainability. You have to be able to understand why the AI made a certain decision. No black boxes allowed. All right, principles are great, but let's be real. They're just words on a page if no one's there to enforce them. So whose job is it to make sure all this stuff actually gets done? Well, it's a whole chain of command, really. It all starts at the top, maybe with a chief AI officer who sets the vision. From there, it goes to a steering committee that figures out the strategy. Then it's handed off to the developers and IT folks who are actually building and running the tech. And at the end of the day, there's a governing body that's accountable to everyone, employees, customers, you name it. Okay, so you've got the people and you've got the principles. Now what? Well, now you need the playbook, the actual rules and policies. If we look at our map again, you can see exactly where this playbook comes from. We're talking about two main things here. First, the outside rules, standards and regulations that you have to follow. And second, the inside rules, the policies you create for your own teams. And here's the good news. You don't have to start from scratch. There are some really solid, globally recognized frameworks out there. For instance, the NIST framework is awesome for figuring out your risks. And then there's ISO 42001, which gives you a blueprint for your entire management system. You can build on these. No need to reinvent the wheel. Now, it's really, really important to get the difference between these two. Think of it like this. Regulations, like the big EU AI Act, are the official speed limits on the highway. Everybody has to obey them, period. Policies, on the other hand, are your own family's rules for the car. Like no eating messy food, or the driver picks the music. They're your internal rules to make sure you're driving safely within the law. And honestly, these internal policies are where the rubber really meets the road. This is where you answer the tough questions. Like, is our AI strategy actually helping the business? What exactly does acceptable use even mean for us? Should we build this thing ourselves or buy it from someone else? You can't just wing these decisions. You absolutely need a playbook. Okay, people, check. Principles, check. Playbook, check. You've got it all set up. But what happens when something inevitably goes wrong? Because it will. That's when we need to talk about defense. We're talking security and incident response. Yep, back to the map. The last couple of branches here get into the nitty-gritty, security and incident response. And this is so critical because, look, even the best laid plans can fall apart. A truly great governance plan isn't just about stopping bad things from happening. It's about knowing exactly what to do when they do. When you think about AI security, it's really a two-way street. First, you've got security for AI. That's all about protecting your AI models and your data from being hacked or messed with. But then you've got AI for security, which is where you use the power of AI to hunt down threats. You got to be proactive on both sides of that coin. But listen, you can have the best defenses in the world, Fort Knox level security, and you still have to plan for the day something gets through. And when that day comes, you can't be scrambling.
You need a plan that's been tested. It goes like this. 1. Figure out what's happening fast. 2. Contain it. Stop the damage from spreading. 3. Get rid of the problem's root cause, even if that means you have to retrain your whole model from scratch. And 4, and this might be the most important step of all, figure out what went wrong so it never ever happens again.
Wow, okay. We've covered a ton of ground here, right? From these big, high-level ideas all the way down to what you do in an emergency. So let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture.
Looking at the whole map one last time really drives home the main point. All of this stuff is connected. Your principles shape your policies. Your policies dictate your security measures. It's not a bunch of separate boxes to check off. It's one big, living, breathing system where every part affects every other part.
And that's why this quote just nails it. This isn't about compliance checklists. It's about building the operating system that lets you innovate responsibly.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Thinking about governance isn't putting the brakes on AI. It's building the launchpad. When you do it right, you stop just worrying about risk and you start building a real strategic advantage. You earn trust and you finally unlock what AI can really do. And that really brings us to the final thought. AI governance isn't just some policy document you write and then file away. It is your strategy. So the real question you have to ask is, do we just have a policy? Or is our organization actually prepared to lead?